Let's starting. Start the recording. Let's start the recording. So now we should be good. Here's the agenda. Let me just make sure there's a couple more pieces here and we'll be good to go. Let's start the transcript. There's Krista. All right, can everybody hear me online?
Yes.
All right. Welcome everyone to the Salem Public Art Commission meeting for January 14th, 2026. The time is 11:34, almost 11:35 a.m. And I guess we'll get started with the roll call. And I can call, or if you guys want to volunteer your names or however you want to do it.
Usually we just kind of, say a welcome, and then I say a welcome to everyone, and we go around and just introduce ourselves. We'll go around this way and then up on screen. How does that sound?
All right.
So,
You introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Susan Apat. Sorry, I am the chair of the Public Art Commission.
And I am Linda Beerley, visiting the meeting from the representing the Salem Arts Foundation.
Kathleen Dingus-Rice. Sorry, Kathleen Dingus-Rice, and I am visiting the meeting.
Carl Roth, I'm a commissioner.
Chris Darcy, Commissioner.
This Escobar, Commissioner.
Chris Snyder, staff liaison.
Krista Lauer, Commissioner.
Leah? Do you want to introduce yourself, Leah?
Oh, sure. My name is Leah Tagawa. I'm a resident of Salem and I'm just sitting in. Thank you.
Brian, are you there?
Yeah, we're here. We're getting in the elevator right now. And on our way.
Okay. Great.
Could you repeat what he said?
He's on his way.
He's getting in the elevator.
They're in the elevator.
Okay.
And so we have,
And I think there's a sign in. For
She's already signed.
Oh, okay.
so we have 6 members of 6 available, so we're good.
Oh, great. So, I guess we want to just move right along should we wait until those two get up here, or should we
Yeah, we can
move along?
give them.
I think we should start. I'm gonna have to leave the meeting today at 12:45.
Okay, we'll move it along. Is there any, I'll call the meeting to order. Is there any public comment?
I would like to have a public comment, okay? So, I'll have my written comments and I'm not gonna read all this. Just the points that I really wanted to emphasize were, first of all, there's good news about the donation amount. That I noticed in your annual report, you had 70,000, but we're up to 96.5 now. So it's coming right along. And I also wanted to, because this is kind of missing information, $6,000 have come from out-of-town visitors. 104 visitors have contributed to the Equal Earth Restoration Fund. So, just to kind of highlight how much attention gets paid to the globe. And these are people that come all the way from Alaska, New Jersey, New Hampshire, North Carolina. It's widely represented globally. And from $5 to $500, it's surprising. We've had donations of $500 from California and Washington. And these are people that don't live here, that want to help. And then I had some requests. And one is we're missing contact people. we're missing, just brought forward information about the signage at the Globe last meeting. And now we're down to one sign that is out of date because it talks about how close we're getting, because we are very close to our original goal, but now the goal, is a lot more. So we'd like to take that sign down and replace it with one of the former ones, but we don't know who to talk to. We were working with Heather Dimke, but Heather, of course, has left city staff for quite some time now. So we need a new contact. And we also that's the one that's up there now. And, it's good as far as it goes, but we need to add a couple more zeros to that now, apparently. So anyways, the fallen tiles, the tiles continue to fall off the Globe. And we don't know if it's our responsibility to pick those up or if it's not us, who should be doing that. And we don't even know who to ask. So if you all can help us with that communication chain, that would be great. And the other thing is the estimate for the current maintenance of the Globe. What could be done to the Globe for maintenance right now? And it was our understanding that had been, they were talking to ARG, that's Public Works. And so, we don't know if this is still under the aegis of the Public Works Department, or has it now been transferred to the city manager's office? So maybe some clarity about the chain of command would be good too, if we can have that. And just
who takes care of it?
takes care of the Globe, who's still working with the estimates from now 2 companies. So that would be really helpful. And then I just wrapped up with kind of an affirmation of this project. I think it's such an important project for city. And it is kind of our public face as to what we think of us. And right now, as you can tell from that photograph, we're not looking so good. So just, I think we can do better, and I know we will. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. I think if I can make a comment. Thank you, Linda. I was just thinking about the Globe last night for some reason. And
I was probably sending
probably through the fog. And it reminded me that I had not heard about an update of this regarding the sign.
Yeah.
I agree. This has been, it's a giant piece of community art that has been tossed around by nobody really. Nobody even seemed to catch it.
Yeah.
The wall. And it's the last time I was there, it really is, it's very troubling to look at because the thing is literally self-destructing.
Yeah.
And there's stuff all over the ground. Despite that, moms are there with kids, people are there riding their bicycle around, and it's
taking selfies.
Yes. It's very, in good weather, it's quite busy.
Yeah.
So, as I was preparing for this morning's meeting, I was reminded that as SPAC prepares to deliver a report to City Council, that this needs to be a big part of it because it is big and it is unresolved. It's a work in progress. You and the Parks Foundation has done yeomen's and yeowomen's work.
And it's been a pleasure. The people have responded.
They have. They have. But I do think that as we set goals for 2026, it should be to resolve your questions from this piece and also to effectively communicate to the city that it is time to act. Whether that is, maybe the city will have to invest more heavily in this. Maybe there is a louder call to people. We've talked about a public meeting. We've agreed that we would wait for the bids to come in for consultants to see, is it really $1.5 million? Is it $1 million? What? But this can't be ignored. it's too big. I personally think it is a great Salem story.
It really is.
And so, anyway, I thank you for coming to these meetings and being the conscience for this project.
Thank you.
Continuously coming too. That's important.
This is how stuff happens.
Yeah, we're scheduled to have an update on the February agenda from the Art Solutions Lab about their recommendations on the maintenance, cleaning, and preservation. I'm going to suggest that we make the Eagle Art Club a major agenda item for February to discuss all of these issues with the signage and who's really responsible and kind of get that all cleared up at our next meeting.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you.
May I just suggest that we don't have to wait a month to get the sign fixed?
Oh, right.
It's not these are
Is there
gated
another
signs.
Yes, you said there's another sign.
Well, there's an array of artwork that the city did for us. That was going to be part of their contribution to the project. And it just has gotten lost in the shuffle. And our last contact, as I said, was Heather. And she's I think a couple of years now since she's been working at the city.
Is that something, Chris, that you could kind of look into to see where those signs are and if it's a question of,
And
or do we just need to replace the
So
goal
this one,
or?
well, this one says it's salemparksfoundation.org.
And the other one does too. And it has it has the QR code. But the other one was, what's misleading about the sign is it's portraying that we're almost
Close,
there and we're not. So the original artwork, and it should be present in electronic form somewhere. So, I doubt that there's physical posters sitting around, but the electronic record should be there.
But would we want to change the language on that one, or you're suggesting?
I need to look back. I'm guessing that it would still be okay, because it was pretty generic. Pretty
So it's
pictures.
basically asking for donations.
Yeah, with the QR
We're
code.
working on it, kind of thing.
Chris, could you share their screen?
I can try, yes.
I have a photograph of the broken sign, which I probably sent to Kathleen.
And
When
I think I have some pictures too. So
And
I
so
can
it's-
send that.
I'm sure it's I'm sure these were output in a city print shop.
Yes.
So I think Chris is trying.
I can try and look just through the digital files that I have on stack.
And I
To see if I can find
I
anything
can
on
send
that.
you a photograph too, because I've got photographs.
Well, I've been back, that's a photograph that I've took last Saturday. So I've got that part of it, and I can take a look and see what I have in the digital file.
Okay.
And also, who would be the contact for this project on city staff? Is
Well, right
it
now-
us or?
Well, right now, Public Works Engineering has a staff person, Tony, who is responsible for
Right.
getting the quotes. So my assumption is that it's gonna be.
He's an engineer though. I don't think he'd be working with the posters and all that sort of thing.
He may not be working with the posters, no, he's working on just the work for the road itself. This part of it here, I'd have to find if there's a copy of it somewhere, a template that created, how it was created. And then, yeah, I can see if our science folks or our print shop, if that's something they make or not. It may not be something they make. It may be that we have to go out to like One Day Signs or something like that
Okay.
to be able to have a new one created.
Okay, well, we'll be in touch. Then I don't want to take any more of your time because you've got a full agenda. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
There is a print shop, a local print shop. About to do that too. I guess the city gives us, the city uses. And if it needs to be, if we can find the file for it, then maybe we could simply design one based on what's been done before or this one.
Yeah, basically you just need to know what the new goal is and where are we at on that.
And then does the city pay for that, or does that come out of our budget, or how does that?
Oh, the money for it, it was coming out of the, I think it was 100 and some odd dollars that the city was going to contribute.
Of the city,
And it was
we
coming
have
out
to
of
look
that.
into that as well.
See if the top, if the,
I will, I'll send you the letter, the original letter that we have with the city. That might help, might be helpful. That was with Public Works
Yep.
again.
More than likely, they're still in charge of it.
Well, at least, there's just a lot of loose ends, that's
Yeah.
the thing. And we've been trying to get Mary Heinzman involved, she was the art director. And continues to work with students to make new tiles.
Mhm.
And so we provided contact information to Kathleen, and we provided it to the Parks advisory person. I forget names. Anyway, so it's gone to a couple people, and I'll make sure you have it too.
Okay.
Yeah, I was under the impression that she was involved in, maybe she was collecting the tiles.
For a while she was.
Was.
But then, again, another loose end falls off. Her husband passed away. She was very busy for a while with personal things.
Does she still have some of the tiles?
Yes, yes, Mary has some of the
I think
tiles.
she does.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to kind of work that out, maybe she can help.
And
you
some of
guys.
them were stored underneath the globe. There's a storage area under it.
Mhm.
And there's quite a few just on the ground.
Yeah,
They
that's
grow
what
up.
I've heard, yeah.
Could I even suggest that if people have not visited the Echo Earth Globe, maybe a site visit could be scheduled? Or maybe people could commit to going individually and looking. Because the moss growth, the number of tiles, there are huge swaths of the earth that have,
Well, these pictures are from Saturday.
oh, perfect. I mean, not perfect, but excellent to have recent ones,
Well, it
Yeah.
is a metaphor, people.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, you said there's someplace to store the tiles?
Yeah, there's a storage area underneath the globe. It's locked, you can't just walk.
So
in.
these tiles that
Just
are
think
there,
there.
because I think something should be done about the tiles that are scattered there right now. I mean, people could just take them and.
well, they have to.
Well, they have to scale
penetrate
a
the fence.
10-foot fence.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They are
Can we ask Public
public.
Works to go and collect those tiles?
Yeah, that can be requested. Public Works or Parks, whoever has the key for it. But they'd have to scale
Let's
this,
see. Yeah.
and it's pretty tall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm 6'4".
Yeah. Well, it would look better if
Yes.
they were not scattered around there. So I think those are a couple of things that could be done before the next meeting.
Mhm.
it's good to have the more recent photos, Chris.
Mhm.
Thank you for
Yeah.
getting that.
Out on a walk on Saturday.
Yeah, it was.
Got a cell phone.
Today. Nice. Okay, anything else, public comment? Not, okay, well, moving on to the approval of the consent agenda, I will, make a motion to. I guess we need a second.
Second.
Everyone, who approves, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Moving on, new business, we don't really have any at this time. Unfinished business, review of boards and commissions and membership requirements. I think, Chris, you probably wanted to introduce that and I'll get the discussion going about it.
So, at one of the most recent city council meetings, there was a review of the boards and commissions, memberships. And there was direction from city council to city staff to go back to the boards and commissions and to have a discussion about what the requirements are for being able to serve on the particular boards or commissions as it may be. So for the art commission, there are 7 commissioners, of which 2 members experienced in the arts, art education, or art criticism is a requirement to be able to serve. 2 members experienced in museum curating, art restoration, or art appraisal are required to be able to serve in those 2 positions. And 2 members experienced in landscape architecture, real estate development, or community foundations, who are able to filling 2 of those positions. And then 1 of the 7 is a general community person at large, just a regular Salem resident. And so the direction that was being discussed was, are these too restrictive? Is it too hard of a hurdle for the general public to be able to serve on the boards and commissions in which they have a passion for serving on? With that, Mark Weinstein, our legal expert and advisor for the Salem Public Art Commission, is here today to hear about the discussion and ideas and thoughts about those requirements, and if there's any way to review those and provide a little more flexibility to allow an easier way for volunteers to serve.
Let me just amplify the conversation we're having. I'm going to start by passing out a copy of SRC, Salem Revised Code, section 15.020, which sets out, establishes and sets out requirements. Does anybody else want to share? And I apologize for those commissioners who are appearing remotely. You can go onto the City of Salem's website, and under rules and laws, the Salem Revised Code is online. So at cityofsalem.net, I think it is, and then there's a section for government, and then rules and laws, and you can find the Salem Revised Code there. It's Salem Revised Code section 15 establishes the Public Arts Commission, and then 0.020 sub A sets out the membership requirements. And the City of Salem has been working on a governance project for a while. One of those, as Chris mentioned, was looking at each of the boards and commissions. To be clear, we are not focused on the Salem Public Arts Commission. We are going through all of the boards and commissions to look at what the requirements are for that boards and commission. We are trying to balance 2 things. One, having members of that board or commission that have any knowledge or expertise required in order for that board or commission to do the work of that board or commission on the one hand, versus making sure that where there isn't need for that specific expertise, that the board or commission can have just members of our community who are passionate about the topic, but may not have a particular level of knowledge to still serve on that board or commission and be an effective member. So that's the balance. And right now, as Chris was mentioning, the Salem Public Arts Commission is a 7-member board, and there is only one, what we would call at-large position, where the member does not have to come with some level of requisite knowledge. So we're sort of asking 3 questions. One, which requirements should be retained in some form if there's a requirement for that board or commission? And as you see under section SRC 15.020A, there are 3 different sets of requirements. Each one of those sets of requirements requires 2 members to have them. So which requirements should be retained or modified in some way? And then which requirements could either be eliminated altogether or reduce the number of people that are required to have that? And if the requirements haven't kept up to date with the evolving nature of the board and commission or technology or whatever, if there are any requirements that should be added, to make sure if there was a board and commission that was constantly facing a challenge and saying, you know, in order for us, we really need a member that has this experience in order for us to do that work, to the point where it's like we cannot do our work without that being a requirement. That this would be an opportunity to discuss that as well. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. And just for the commissioners who are online, was everyone able to find that section of the code online so you can see? Is anyone struggling to find the Salem Revised Code online? And
It's just Krista, Commissioner.
okay,
I got it. I have it.
Thank
Thanks.
you. So going through section 15.020A and those requirements, it just Chris is going to sort of coalesce the comments and stuff like that. But in looking at these requirements, are there any of these requirements that can be either modified or eliminated as a whole, which you as the commission, the Arts Commission, still feel you can effectively do your work without that being a requirement? Or, you know, it's kind of really too restrictive as it's written, I would modify it like this, and here's my thoughts. And please, that's, I think, a good starting point.
Are we limited to 7 people, or is there a possibility that we could just expand the number and increase the average?
So I'm just going to put this out there. The bigger the commission becomes, the harder it is to get your work done because your quorum requirement goes higher. And so let's say you become a 10-member commission, then you would have a requirement of 6 people being here, or 12, 7. And so around holidays or summers with traveling or whatever, you will start bumping up quickly quorum requirements as members are not to be here. So it's just remember that people coming into the commission with some level of expertise allows for there to be a discussion amongst the members are there. So do 2 members need to have each of these things? Could 1 member coming to the table be enough to educate the board or commission as a whole? If you feel adamant that there's a need for a particular requirement, that 2 people have that experience and can express to the council as to why you feel adamant about that, sure. But the short answer to your question is you can make that recommendation to expand the number of members. I don't know of one that's beyond 7. I don't even know. I can't think of one.
That makes sense.
But just be careful that you're
yeah. Well, I'm just wondering, you know, to your point of, do you need 2 of each? I guess I like the idea that we're expanding the membership to people that are just interested in Salem Public Art, whether or not they have, you know, relevant experience. I know we do want some of this experience, but could you, you know, have 1 member with each of these 3 parts, and then that would leave 4 at-large seats? Or maybe you say we need a minimum of, you know, 2 on one of these or something like that. There's still a process, right, to get approved to be on the board. You fill out
right.
So it's not like anybody just gets put on when they.
Well, and I will say that I think, because I watched the appointment meeting online after it happened, and it's a group. A lot of them were city councilors that were on that group, and I noticed that was the discussion. It was like, well, we have someone with a lot of experience, but it doesn't fit these very specific ones that are left. And so that's where I think it's not helpful for our commission, is that we had someone super qualified in the arts, but they weren't an architect.
Yeah.
And that was the only spot. They got hung up very much on, they didn't think that person wasn't qualified. They just thought they didn't fit in that particular category, which,
And the at-large.
and
wasn't
the way they
available.
wanted to read it very. So, which, I appreciate as well, but that's where maybe we change that language, so it's, and Mark, maybe this is, I have a lot of wild ideas, as I'm sure you already know. But like, is there a way to like say, an architect would be a really nice to have if they're not an architect, but they still have experience in the arts? Like, is there that kind of flexibility, or it's like a priority,
You can.
or do you need to just make it an at-large?
These are your recommendations,
okay.
okay?
Yeah.
So what I would suggest though is, if you want to change it in a way or remove something, what your recommendation is, and it can be broad, that, doesn't need to be this specific language, but in order to effectively do the work of the commission, we need someone with knowledge and experience in art history or whatever you want to say. I would also give a little bit of information as to why, not just here's the change, but here's why.
You have lots of different options.
Okay.
It's available to you. I mean, you could take and combine those pieces instead of having 3 different categories. You can combine them into one category and say we want 3 people to have
One of
something
these.
in this realm. Remember, we rely on volunteers.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And they're gonna be passionate about what they want to volunteer for. So they're gonna have some energy, some expertise, some knowledge coming, bringing with them that they're bringing to the table, saying, hey, I want to try to part of the art commission. I've done this, I've done that. They've got some passion for arts.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
having the ability to allow somebody that maybe hasn't been a curator at a museum, or some of these other specific pieces,
Yeah.
but they're still passionate about what you do as a commission, allows that flexibility.
Sorry, do we really need like 2 people for that specific thing for the museum curation expertise in that?
That's what you're
That's
discussing
what we're
now.
discussing now.
That's what you're determining right now. Is, do you really need that? That's the question. Yes or no?
I think we would only need 1 and have maybe another 1 at large, so we have 2 at large members.
Yeah, what is the largest commission size really 7 people?
No.
Is it, what is the largest? I can't.
The largest one that I know of is the Human Rights Commission, and it is 15.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Right.
and I would get,
I'm just kidding.
I can appreciate that because
And not all of
people
them
would be
come.
addressing the topic from various
Right.
life
Yeah,
experiences, points of view.
Mhm.
I could see this commission going up to 9 members. Definitely, I think we need more people with general life experience with an interest and a passion for public art. We are, as evidenced by our previous conversation with Linda, public art is not a tidy thing that comes in a box on 1 page. We are creating public works. We are creating artwork that should have value for multiple people in our community. We're dealing with large things that are exposed to the outdoors. We try to help people interpret what they see by writing things, by having installations with labels at the library, things like that. So I will say that it will be important to have people with not just a passion, but knowledge about art in Oregon in order for us to be making informed financial decisions on behalf of our city.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, let's do that. It's like, this is a big thing. It's important. It's expensive. You want to be making grounded decisions. The reality in Salem is that we are not home to professional art conservators. That's, the Hallie Ford, their person lives in Corvallis. We've brought in other people from Portland. So maybe we don't need somebody local who is an art conservator. We want people on this commission to know who the art conservators are. And the city actually retained someone to be a conservator of record. There was another category that I thought we just don't. Oh, the same thing with the appraisal. You know, being a certified art appraiser is you are actually certified by a larger body to be able to offer your opinion about the value of things based on your knowledge or professional experience. We have plenty of qualified people here. I often will informally appraise something, but I'm not a certified appraiser, so maybe we don't need to get down to that granular a level. But certainly, and I do think, you know, in a perfect world, having someone who is a real estate developer, if we as public art advocates could be on more of the inside track about development downtown and making and advocating that public art be part of those private development efforts, that would be a win for Salem. You know, so having those kinds of people, I think, would be great. Architecture, absolutely. Landscape architecture, you know, yes, that would be good. I think I was not part of the development of when the Public Art Commission was first established, experience with foundations. But I think, were there ever a time when private money, for example, with the Echo Earth Globe, was needed? Experience with foundations would be important. And I am the person on this group with that experience. But I do think just a couple more people from the general public would be just healthy.
So let me, again, ask that question. So there's always the ability for members of the public to come in and give public comment to the commission. And there's always an opportunity, if there's a topic, for staff to bring in people with expertise in an area, et cetera. So certainly it's up to the commission as to whether or not the commission wants to recommend expanding it. I'm going to encourage the commission, before it decides to recommend expanding it, again, to determine if you had a 7-member commission and 4 members had specialized art knowledge and 3 members were at large, does that give you enough knowledge and expertise, as well as community as a whole knowledge, in order to continue forward and effectively do this work? Again, there are a myriad of ways. If you feel you can collapse the requirements and just list them all out and say 4 of the 7 members should have one of these things. If you think there are, as it currently is, 2 different groups of requirements where you need people to have, you don't want all of these collapsed, but some of the members should have this, other members should have this. So we are certain that not everyone is a visual arts specialist, but somebody has some experience in restoration or whatever. You can go that route as well. But before you expand the commission, I'd encourage you to consider whether or not, is there something about it being a 7-member commission that you feel is too stifling, or can it be, if at least 4 of the members of the commission have this experience and you then had 3 at large, are you still able to effectively do the work of this, preventing some of the technical aspects of making sure you're able to meet quorum and all of those other things? Because quite frankly, if you don't have a quorum, you're not getting any work done.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and maybe the best way, and just as a suggestion, is for the commission to kind of go through each one of these things and say, do we need that? Is there a more expansive way we can write that? and go through it, and then how you want to structure it. I'm not sure the best way to go about that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, Kristen.
So I mean, I'm looking at this and I agree. I think some of this is limiting. I also think there's a way theoretically to combine essentially the first two. I mean, could it be something where it's, a certain number of members experienced in the arts, including but not limited to, and we list a few things, but then that also leaves it a little bit more open. So if someone doesn't necessarily have those specific experiences, they still feel like maybe they can still apply and contribute. Because right, I think some of these are very limiting. As Chris mentioned, the restoration appraisal, we're going to probably use outside vendors for that anyways and outside professionals. At the same time, having someone with experience in the arts, including but not limited to arts education, art history, art criticism, museum work. Because also even not necessarily museum curating. I mean, if you work in a museum, you still have insight into what's going on. But that theoretically could be a way to address it. Same with the third one. Instead of saying landscape architecture, real estate, et cetera, that could be members experienced in community development, including but not limited to architecture, community foundation work, that kind of thing. So that could be a way to still include some of these, what we're looking for in certain experiences. At the same time, it's not as limiting and it's a little bit more open-ended.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
Do we know, so I know right now we have a vacant seat. Do we have I don't have a sense of how many people are applying. I mean, are there a lot of people that are applying right now? Do you know?
I don't have a sense of the application process. The application process is an online process, and it's available all year round. But when we get those applications, there's only certain times of the year when the mayor and council will come together to review those applications for filling vacancies.
Okay. I was just trying to get
it's not a monthly
if a lot of people are getting turned down that really want to be on, an art commission, because
we don't have a lot of people knocking down the door for being on.
Yeah.
Let's say, in case of vacancy, a successor who served their remainder, the term shall be appointed by the council after receiving recommendations from the mayor. So if we wanted to fill that any sooner, do we have to wait for the entire?
So the process is the applications, you can tell anybody or ask anybody who is wanting to be on the board when there's a vacancy, say, hey, we got a vacancy, you can self-promote, you can have some to fill out the application with the city for volunteering to be on one of the boards and commissions and select the art commission if they want, that's what they're looking for, and submit that anytime throughout the year. What then happens is then there'll be a time frame. It doesn't happen on a monthly basis, and sometimes it's not quarterly, but the review boards and commissions committee will come together and review all the applications for appointments to the vacancies that are currently existing at that point in time. Ideally, we'd like to have those done as soon as there's a vacancy, and usually that's, there's a month. With this commission, you guys have an end date of December 31st. So knowing ahead of time that those that are ending on the 31st of December, we try and have a meeting in late November or early December to be able to approve all the renewals, people that want to go on for a second term, or to fill a vacancy that's going to be coming up because we know that there's an interim when somebody's had two terms or somebody's vacated somewhere in between the year. I've got another board, the Culture and Tourism Promotion Advisory Board, that has a June 30th date. So all of their terms, they have three people that expire in June every year. So they'll try and meet in May to be able to fill those positions. And sometimes just due to staffing shortages, or application shortages, there's not anybody to fill those positions. So.
Could I make just a suggestion that we follow up with Krista's suggestion, and maybe I'm modifying it slightly, perhaps specifying that we're keeping the 7-member commission, specifying that 4 members will have experience in the visual arts, art history, what Krista just outlined, eliminating the art restoration and the art appraisal, but I like the introduction of community development And I would keep architecture and landscape architecture, of course, and then having 3 at-large members.
Are you suggesting we combine, just have that one group?
Have one
No,
group.
Yeah, that's
and-
what I was gonna say, is that just put it all in one, whatever it is that we want to say in terms of, I like the community development addition. And then just, I would even have it 5 and 2, 2 members, community at large. My fear is that we're basically a working commission because we don't have any dedicated person for arts and culture on city staff. So we do a lot of staff type work within the commission. So I think it's important to have people, some people go online and they go, oh, I want to be on a commission. And they go, oh, it might be fun to be on the art. I like art, I public art. And then they get on the commission and they're not really qualified, or they don't really understand or willing to really put in the time. So I think it's really important to have as many people who have some experience in any of these things. And that's also a guideline when people are looking to be on a commission, to say, these are the type of people that we're looking for. So I would change it to 5 and then 2 at large.
Just recognize that if you keep it at 4, your majority of your board would still be individuals with that experience. So just something to keep in mind if you.
And also when the applications come in, someone with maybe some experience in art history or something would probably be appointed ahead of someone that was, just looking to join the board, right? So there's still the approval
Depends on how
process.
many applications they get.
Right.
If they don't get applications.
Yeah.
I certainly would support 5 members with content knowledge regarding public art and all of the various contributing, experience areas. And 2, it's interesting, Mark. When you mentioned that people can come and provide public testimony, comment to any board or commission, one of the things I think that this body struggles with is having a public presence. The city has changed the way it does external communication, which I'm not talking about that, but we do not have a Facebook page. We do not have a content-rich web page within the city's web system. And I previously served on this board where many people would come and just talk, like we'd like to do more than that. A group of poets came once and said, we'd love to collaborate. It's like, great. And then things just have changed over time, and SPAC really has become very non-public. So
narrow what we do.
well, we're a public art. We're not an arts commission. We're a public art commission. So that's different.
Yeah, I'm still learning the core responsibilities of SPAC based off of the Salem Revised Code.
Well, it's pretty
Maybe it's
specific.
a good thing to review as a whole to identify, what are your core
I think
responsibilities.
we did that at a few meetings back. We had a lesson in what we could do and couldn't do.
I have a question about those positions as we expand them, and I agree with it. Do we have something in there, or what do we feel about? Could we still have a lot of specifics, but a much more general specific, but we don't really, and maybe I'm wrong, cover like just an artist, someone that is an artist.
What's his experience in the art?
In the arts.
Yeah.
So as long as we
experience in the visual arts.
That would be a good distinction
Yeah,
to
would
make,
be.
because
Yeah.
most public art is visual art.
right,
That's not to say it couldn't be performance,
yeah.
but we're not there
Yeah,
yet.
well, sure. I just don't want
It does say
another
that's
instance
not-
where an artist with a lot of passion and is like, I want to work hard, but they still didn't quite fit in that box. And if they don't, then they can't get assigned to us. It's just something to think about too, as we're expanding this language.
So who have experience, training, or expertise in in the arts, the visual arts. Do you want the visual arts called out specifically or the art?
Or is the arts enough?
We're
Does that
probably-
cover it?
Right now, I would say we're probably not looking for a poet. We're looking for somebody with experience in visual art.
Okay.
I think I had written out as a suggestion, members should have experience in the arts as artists, art educators, art organizers, curators, and then we can add to that. Do we want art maintenance, or you were saying foundations? Do you think it's important to specify foundation?
It depends on what you're trying to do. So is this, and I probably, if I were going to write code, I would be as expansive and as inclusive as
I agree.
we want.
Yeah.
So, foundations are about funding. If that's important to the future of public art in our city, then you want that word in there. You could put arts funding. Are we trying to come to final language at this meeting
When
today?
do you need that?
Yes,
language?
if we're not gonna come, we're trying to go back to council in February based off of timing. If we're not gonna get final, there's two ways we can go about this. It's the city attorney is trying to get final language together this month. So if we can't come up with final language today, we could either do a special Salem Public Arts Commission meeting where this would be the sole item on the agenda. We would need to have a quorum. It would need to be publicly noticed, or alternatively, you could each individually give your thoughts to Chris, and Chris can then coalesce them and put together that information. Ultimately, it's going to be up to city council to decide how they want to change this. That said, there can't be a meeting outside of the meeting. So if you want to continue the conversation amongst the quorum of this group, it would need to be in another publicly noticed meeting.
Do we think we can do it today?
Well, I was just looking to see if there's a whiteboard, and that might be the easiest way to start, and just put some of these words up.
It feels like we're circling. Saying, yeah.
I just was, it would be easier for me to.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
are we, I think we, at some point, we'll need a motion to, not only generalize how many we want from each category. So whether it's, 5 within the broad category that we're gonna do the language for, and then 2 at large, or 4 and 3 at large. So
Well, let's start with 5 and 2, and then we can get to the second one.
that sounds.
So I know Krista could you repeat what you originally said? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah. My original idea was someone with experience in the arts, including but not limited to visual arts, arts education. I don't think we need art criticism personally.
Yeah.
Have we ever had a
I think so.
specifically art critic?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Museum curation. Again, I think we could also say museum work in general. At the same time, a curator does obviously bring a specific line of experience, which I do think is beneficial. And then community development.
Can I
Want
ask
to
a
break that
question
down too?
of the group in that do we want museum curation or art curation?
Let's say art curation.
Yeah, we could do that. And then I
Museum.
think we could say museum work, museum experience, because I do think that there are other aspects of working in a museum that aren't necessarily as I mean, most of my work was as an exhibitions assistant, and I learned a ton that way that wasn't necessarily curating.
So just so Chris can catch up, let's get visual arts up.
Is experience with visual arts enough to include artists, would you think?
Yes,
Yeah, I think so.
Then we don't have to say artists.
art history, art education. Art curation. This can be refined. And we said museum work.
Can I ask another question on that? I'm sorry to cut you off, Commissioner Dorsey. You mentioned that one of the things that you appreciated about your work in a museum was you learned a lot about art displaying. Instead of museum experience, if that's what you like, could it be art exhibition, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think exhibition design could go into that.
That's true, you can have
But
a
museums
gallery or
do collections and the accession.
Yeah,
So
they do. So I wouldn't necessarily want to limit it to that because, yeah, I mean,
I agree with
database
you, that might be
experience
too limiting.
yeah, database experience is also really helpful.
I'm just wondering if the word museum is too limiting, because is a gallery, is an
Right.
art gallery the same as a museum?
You know, museums have collections.
Yeah.
Galleries don't usually have collections.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, can we add architecture,
Yeah,
landscape architecture, and community development?
yeah.
Architecture, landscape architecture, and community development.
I'm assuming from what I heard earlier that you're wanting something about arts funding.
That can get added to this now too.
Do we have arts organizations in there and foundations?
How granular does this need to be?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, can they
I
rather
think
than
arts organizations is probably a good one, because it encompasses a lot of different experience.
I mean, is it too broad
Could-
to say, you know, or other experiences relevant to the, you know, to public art? Or does that just open?
Well, that's a little broad then, that can be open to
Well,
interpretation, I suppose.
remember, all this stuff is part of the 5, so if they even have, is it idea that they have one of these, like any one of these?
Yeah,
They could have
So
three at
They
the
can
same
have 3 or
time.
4.
Yeah.
One minimum, essentially, right? Yeah.
So what I might add is community cultural development, which would be an umbrella that would include community foundations, community arts centers, grassroots stuff.
You say community cultural development.
we have someone who works for Salem Art Association in here, and I was just wondering if you had anything to add in terms of that, you know, labeling for that requirement, since you're part of an arts
How much of this
organization.
stuff does the Salem public art get into for the city? Because you're controlling the city's public art.
Right.
If there's gonna be, when I think about the landscape architecture, and the architects, whenever there's that kind of stuff, you're gonna have to go with permitting and city stuff, city permitting. And
I think that stuff goes to citing, because they're also controlling, they have good recommendations on where things should be cited in projects and stuff like that. So,
But that's in harmony with the engineering or the developers for the property, right? With their landscape architect.
Well, a good example of that, of what Mark is getting at is, the Peace Plaza. So that the city has retained landscape architects to look at the redesign of that, both for ADA and for, you know, more user-friendly stuff. I mean, I think architecture and landscape, I think they're aligned, but with different focuses. And I mean, it would be great to have a landscape architect on this commission. But the reason that I use the words community cultural development is it's about building community through arts and culture, which I think is a kind of a foundation of what public art is all about. And it would be, I mean, full disclosure, I'm a cultural policy expert, but it would allow both kind of a wide door that someone could come in. Maybe they were a neighborhood organizer. Maybe they were people involved in a street mural. Maybe they work at a community arts center. You know, maybe they've been on a public art commission in another jurisdiction, you know, different town. I mean, that would be a very rich combination of experience among 5 members of a 7-member commission.
It also addresses the kind of outreach that we're trying to do to the community to really engage the community. You know, in the art collection and also in what we do in art in general. So I like that a lot, Chris, in addition.
Yeah, so from the way you change the wording experience in arts, including these things, but not limited to these things.
You know, that's what it's saying, including but not limited to,
So they can have any one of these.
Right.
or other demonstrated
If
experience.
they only have one, they don't have any of the others.
Or it can be something not on that list altogether.
Yeah, it's pretty deep relevant.
Then why even have it at large? I mean, if it can be anything and not even limited to that, then why do we need?
That's where that.
Well, this we could take, I mean, my original thing was if we wanted just to keep it like arts and community, it's why I suggested the not limiting to, but if we kind of bundle it all together like this, and we want people that have at least one of these experiences, we don't need to have that.
At limited and
Yeah.
but not limited to, maybe we
Yeah.
can take that away. And
I don't want to cut off Commissioner Darcy because you had asked a question of with the Salem.
I had
Arts.
asked Kathy if she had anything to weigh in.
I would just say, I think, acknowledging arts organizations, there are folks who do a lot of fundraising because they're nonprofits, they're always looking for funding. So by acknowledging arts organizations in that list, there are a lot of people who, just like museum work, you learn a lot and they might be broad without specific definitions. Same thing with arts organizations, you learn a lot and you might learn a lot in different areas. So I would kind of think to include that because you might recognize yourself in that category. Someone who's looking at that might say, I work for an arts organization, I do all these different things. I do qualify, where they might say, well, I'm not really art curation, I'm not really this or that. Because sometimes when you work at an arts organizations, you do a lot of different things.
I'm just going to put this out there. The beginning phrase is experience in arts, and these create a list of things can be in there, but I think we would need additional whiteboards for this group to list out every type of experience in art that someone can have that would be a meaningful contribution to this group. So I think, and again, the at large doesn't mean, well, if you have any of these experiences, you don't qualify.
Right.
Maybe you'll get 7 people who will all have wonderful experience in the arts. This is saying at least 5 or 4, whichever you go to, are people that aren't just passionate about the art or enjoy art, but have some type of, I would say, training or experience, including but not in the arts. And then if you have up to 2 other members who, hey, you know, I don't have experience in this, but I'm someone who genuinely enjoys looking at the arts in this community, going to the arts, and I bring to the table my feeling of as a member of the community where the city is strong and where this city is deficient, just as from just a resident of this community, but I don't have this training or experience. I think they bring something to the picture as well. I would encourage the commission to keep the including but not limited to, because that's just defining what would constitute training or experience in the arts. But it still goes back to these people do have to have training or experience
So
in
it's
the
not like you
arts.
have to have a degree, it could be on the job training, yeah.
It could be,
If
yes,
it's
yeah.
left this way.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Is this adequate for you to take away from this meeting?
Chris is gonna be the one that's gonna write up the report on this.
Oh,
So I guess we'll ask that for good. Do you understand what they're getting at and their reason? And I guess then that question is, if you are standing before council explaining to council why you're making this shift, why you still want 5 as opposed to 4, why you need these things in order to do your work, how this changes, what would your talking points to council be as to why you're recommending these shifts? I think maybe anything you want to express in that would be the second part of the conversation to have.
It does say experience, training, or expertise. Do we need to include all of those 3?
Doesn't hurt to have a training or experience or expertise, but
Expertise.
The
Would
question is-
experience and expertise be somewhat redundant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Training or experience is simple.
I think experience, I mean, if you're trained, you've had experience, so I think experience is probably enough.
Do we want to see what Lee does?
I mean, training or, what's the difference between,
Twice.
yeah, I don't, you know.
Leia has her
Have
hand
the experience
raised,
of
by the
being trained.
Well, training would be like education, I would think.
Yeah, so they may not
Well-
have experience. I think it's worth
And
it.
experience could be on the job.
Susan, Lee's had a question for about 30 minutes.
Sorry, oh, Leah, hi, sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's more of, it's a tangent question because we're opening this code language for review. What I want to do in the next coming months is have all like the review of code changes in the same section. If you guys complete these like membership requirement changes now, does that close the window for me to do other code changes for a long time? This question is more for the person from the city in the black jacket whose name I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Mark Weinstein with the city attorney's office. This is a very specific project that's happening. As I mentioned, this is something that all boards and commissions are doing. We're not looking at ways to improve the Salem Public Arts Commission's whole code. So the code as a whole with all of the boards and commissions is something that's being looked at. So I would suggest to the commission for right now, we're just looking at one section, SRC 15.020A. If there are other recommendations for code changes to the Salem Public Arts Commission, the work they do, other things, that I think that would be a separate discussion to have.
Okay, that's great for me. Please proceed. Sorry.
Not to worry, Leo, you can still proceed with what you want to do.
I'm
Do we need
Looking
to
at
make a
the
motion
time.
on this? Or he just.
Yeah,
makes
do we
the
need to
report?
make a motion
I-
to,
There's going to be a motion.
So I don't think so.
Doesn't happen.
Right now, we're looking for input.
Okay.
So I think this is more as of a discussion. Chris is going to put it together and go from there. But I do just want to make sure that we're accurately reflecting things. So is this looking like what this commission feels? This is how you, in order to do your work, but encourage not being overly limiting, that this is how you would change this. And we've crossed off, obviously we've talked about things that you don't feel is as important here. Is anyone feeling differently, or this is how Chris brought forward this, that anyone feeling differently about how we should move on this? And it's good.
I
And
think,
then-
I think it looks good also.
Krista, are you all set?
Yeah.
with-
Yeah, that sounds great.
Sounds like a real good.
And I wanna get a little bit so. Lastly, only 2 at-large members as opposed to 3. The explanation I heard of that, I believe it came from you, Commissioner Darcy, was. Can you give a little bit further on that as to why you feel it's important for there to be 5 members that meet this group as opposed to it being 4 or 3 with 3 at large, or?
Well, I think the work is pretty important. This is a very unique, as I think I suggested earlier, the realm of public art is composed of many moving parts. We've got linking with architecture, linking with public spaces, interpreting things for others so they understand what this work of art means or how you can enjoy it. You know, people downtown have talked about creating moments that are special where people come to take their selfie and they remember Salem because they stood next to the Echo Earth Globe or the Tom McCall sculpture. And I just think that, I do think that this would be, having people with this kind of experience would make for a very rich conversation around a table like this one. Remember, I started out suggesting that we add members, and then, you know, I moved away from that. So I would be happy to work with Chris and help formulate talking points that would accompany these changes, suggested changes.
That'd be great.
But I think that we've achieved removing things that were impractical. That's a plus. You know, again, if we could, I understand that having forum is important, so that's why I'm okay to stick with 7. But you know, for a city of 180,000 people, 7 people is a pretty small group. So looking forward, finding ways for better engagement with this commission would be, you know, a good goal to set.
And if you look at the ongoing projects that we have, they all pretty much involve some level of arts expertise in order to accomplish. And as I said, we are it. We do not have anyone on staff that is an arts and culture expert. And we are it. And we're a working commission. We need, in order to get these projects done, we have to contribute quite a bit of our volunteer time to do it. And the more expertise that is on the commission, the easier it is to get these things accomplished, where we don't have to train people or tell people, you know, information about how to go about things.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, all of you, for letting me
Thank you.
interject myself into your
No, it's
into
very
the
helpful.
discussion here, and I appreciate you saying, let's pull out the whiteboard and get this done. As opposed to, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
I would prefer to have a
to-
motion and approval for moving forward with what's.
Somebody want to make that motion?
I move that the code revision that we suggest would include continuation of a commission of 7 with 5 members with training or experience as evidenced on the board. Somebody can take a picture, and 2 at-large members. And that be part of the city's analysis of boards and commission makeup, you know, that's underway.
And as I heard it, the reason for why the commission wants to stay at 5 is this commission is largely the art knowledge base for the city, that there is not this level of expertise in city staff. So it's important that this commission come forward and bring that, is what I heard is one of the most important reasons for that. Is that a correct summary of what you're
Yes,
saying?
that's correct.
Do we have a second?
Also,
Any more discussion on this? Okay, everyone in favor of the motion? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? The motion is passed. Thank you.
Chris, I'll leave it to you to take, you have your cell phone to take a picture of this, like, okay. Sure.
Great. Is there anything else you need from us in order to accomplish that?
Nope. No, so, if I have any questions, if it's a background explanation, so I might reach out to after that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, could I ask that we defer from our agenda and move up the item about the Civic Center Public Art?
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I've got a time constraint.
Sure, is that all right with everybody?
And I'll be very quick.
Mhm.
Following our last meeting, Eric Himsey drafted an RFQ for review by Chair Napak, by me, by Carl, and by Ricardo from Compass Point, who is, I'm not sure what his role is with that project, but a project management or oversight in some way. I know that Susan and I submitted comments back. Did you give him any comments?
I didn't, I agree with your comments, and I think that the date is the most crucial thing that we need to discuss today, I think.
So we turned our comments in by January 5th. I reached out to Aaron late yesterday to find out if he was going to be with us today at this meeting. He said that he is still working on those the suggested edits to that RFQ. He couldn't be here. I want to just touch on a few things that in particular, I think this full commission should appreciate. I did suggest to him that his timeline might be too fast. Although this morning, very early, he said that he still would like to get this out next week. So I think that those of us who are reviewing, we should just be watching for a message from him and paying attention to that. I do think the issue of copyright, which we've discussed multiple times with the mural situation, needs discussion. I told him that I would try to find some other language, and I will keep working on that. I haven't had time to do that. Interestingly, as we've talked about the Echo Earth Globe, I think the contract itself was attached to this RFQ. That's the practice for putting out these RFQs. We should require the artist to submit a maintenance and cleaning plan as a condition for final payment. That is not unusual in most public art contracts. The RFQ also indicates a priority for Oregon artists. I don't know if that is in code. I can look it up, but I think that should be a discussion topic for this body moving forward. And then I also, in terms of next steps, we do need to finalize how this RFQ is going to be posted. I know there are multi-purpose posting spots for government procurement. I'm sure the city uses those, but whether we should make sure that there are specific art and public art posting sites that should be used, I would recommend that.
And there are many, yeah.
Yeah, there are many. And then just there's a timeline in the RFQ, and we probably want to make sure that all that gets synced up if something gets delayed by a week or so. You know, again, I'm excited. I drive by the city hall every day, and the project is moving quickly. And yeah, it's so. Anything that Susan or I want to add?
Yeah, I made some comments about just content in terms of, you know, we had sort of outlined the major things that this sculpture should accomplish. And some of those were not incorporated, so I would figure out, like, there was nothing about the brutalist architecture. It was very briefly mentioned, but that's a huge thing that we had talked about. So I don't remember all of it. I don't think I had printed this out, but I don't think my comments on here. The other thing was that the way that the visual is that's showing the sites includes the cross. section, we had talked about the 2 elevator towers.
Yeah,
We had never talked about having it be like, look like a ladder kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be clear that we want to specify that it's the 2 verticals and not that the horizontal as well.
the way I read that is it's opening it up. I mean, I don't think it's required that it has to include the horizontal. He's just saying this is your general canvas area. And so I think I'd want to kind of leave it open. I don't think it's, if someone comes up with something that connects those two towers, I think that's would be acceptable.
Yeah, I
At least
guess
worth looking at.
my thought was that it was to enhance the verticality of the space. But
I did suggest to Aaron that the subcommittee of SPAC and Aaron and probably the Howard S. Wright folks and the architect, we may need a meeting or at least some kind of a virtual meeting to just there is plenty of tweak. Well, the content part of this could use a really hard copy edit.
yeah,
To Susan's point, just about the uniqueness of the building, which I think makes it an attractive public art project. And just clarifying some of those details.
right. I also my main comment was this reads more like a legal document than and I know it is a legal document, but that for someone that, I'm an artist, if I start to read this, it kind of would give me a massive headache. And that could it be accompanied by something simple? I had printed out an RFQ from TriMet about a project, and it all the points on here could match up to the points on this large document with a lot of repetition. It has so much repetition. It's so much about the human rights. I understand that's important, but and then up front what you shouldn't do and what you can't do, and it's just a very overwhelming document. And I wonder if it could be accompanied by something simpler that just outlines what it's about, when the deadlines are, what the building is, what the requirements are, and then have this also this legal document that I understand is the template for the city. But it's not inviting, it's not clear. All the relevant information is buried. You have to go and search for it. I think there was a one pager that I have somewhere that was for the public works RFQ. It was just a one pager, and I wonder if that accompanied the original, because this probably was used for that RFQ, but it was a one pager, and I wonder if we can have something like that as well.
Well, I'm sure Aaron would have access to that document because he worked on the public art for the Public Works Op Center. The other thing that Ricardo said, he had a comment about paying prevailing wages, and he had another comment about because the artist will likely be on installing in a working construction site, that individual would require to undergo drug testing before he or she or they could work in that controlled site. So there are a lot of parts to a public art project. I agree with Susan. I was not involved in the Public Works RFQ process, but it would be, if there was kind of a summary sheet, I'd love to see it. I haven't seen it.
Have that too. One other thing that I think involves SPAC specifically was they were asking, there's one section that says prior to finalizing the agreement, the selection committee will present their recommendation of chosen artists to the Salem Public Art Commission for their approval by majority vote of a quorum. And there was a question whether this was necessary and whether this is required. And I don't know if that's what was done in previous projects or not, but it makes sense to me that SPAC would have approval.
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the core reason for our existence.
Right.
And now that Gretchen is here, I do hope because we are, we're a city with lots of different people, we're, 180,000 people, that more people will be involved in the review process than 3 members of the Public Art Commission and the architect and someone from Public Works and someone from Howard is Right. There would be some other individuals that would just be useful for the conversation. But I'd hoped that we would have, that our group would have seen the updated RFQ. We're not there yet.
Right.
So I do think
A lot of
that,
comments, yeah. Yeah, so it would be helpful if we could have Aaron get back. I mean, he wants to get it out in the next month,
no, the next week.
Yeah.
in the next week. Well, I think we would need to meet with him and see what the changes that are made.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, he's, I thanked him for his update and I said, I will be watching for your next draft. And I previously communicated that I thought the timeline was pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
It's tight to get it out. It was tight. It also was tight on the period of time that an artist could actually receive this, think about it, and then put together materials to reply to an RFQ.
And for the pedestal projects, there was a process where they would apply and then have some time to develop and we were paying them for that.
Correct.
Is that included?
Yes. Mhm.
Because I couldn't find that anywhere in here.
It is there.
It is.
It is there. So this is a
kind of
request.
buried.
It's a lot to get through. I didn't print it out.
Would that require a subcommittee meeting or a
Yeah,
new public meeting?
Well, there's a subcommittee, then it's
Yes, you're-
it's a public meeting. You're gonna be obtaining information and deliberating and putting together recommendations and stuff like that. That's a public meeting. So if it's more than one person from this being there, yes.
Okay, so we have gone to the city hall as a subcommittee of 3 to meet with public works staff and the architect to look at the space twice. That's
Yeah, it should be done as a publicly noticed meeting, and an in-person meeting. Notice.
okay. So even though, so if someone just showed up at the chain link fence, they would come into the construction site along with us. I'm just a question. I want to make sure we're.
So subcommittees that are acting on authority, and the subcommittee is still governed by the same public meetings law as the public body as a whole. So if you're going just to obtain purely factual information and there's not going to be a discussion about the information or anything like that, that's one thing.
Or decision made.
You're all going to go out and just look at the globe and just gaining the fact of looking at what the space looks like, and there's no discussion or obtaining information that isn't just purely, if it's purely factual, like you're just going in, how many square feet is this? And you're literally just taking a measurement. That's not it. But if you're going to take a measurement and then you're going to have a discussion, well, this is this many square feet. I'm not sure if we could have this type of architecture here, or this might be better. That's starting to get into deliberation, and it's no longer purely factual. You're having a discussion about it, and then you're going to come back and make a recommendation to this commission as a whole. That's a meeting that needs to be noticed. The subcommittee, however, if there's 3 people, quorum would be 2, et cetera, et cetera. It's that becomes a notice thing. It would need to be, that would be something that would be an in-person only meeting. Yeah, and the public would need to be able to be a part of that meeting. Now, I haven't looked at the issue of what do you do if they can't be in that space. I mean, it might be better that it be one person getting that information and bringing it back to this committee to have a discussion because I think in a secured space, you can't have the public as a whole there.
Yeah.
Can we do it as a Zoom meeting that public is notified? about?
Sure, if virtual, then yeah, then
Is the virtual a requirement? If you're, do you have to have both these days?
yes. So there's a state law, there's a city administrative policy and procedure. There are certain within our administrative policy and procedure, I think it's 2.5. Can't recall off the top of my head. There are some situations in which it could be in person only. For instance, a site visit, where if you decide as a whole that you're going to do a site visit at the Globe to discuss the needs of the Globe, that would be noticed as a public meeting in person only, because you're not gonna have someone walking.
Yeah, with the
Right.
live stream.
That would be a reason.
Exactly. Okay, that's what I wanted.
But
But in this case, we need safety equipment, everyone has to. Yeah,
Yeah.
footwear, hard hat, they provided that with us, I don't know if, it's a construction zone, so they can accommodate 20 people, I don't think,
Yeah.
in there. I mean, I think our goal was really just to see the space, see what was available, and then we came back and reported it to the commission and voted as a commission.
if it was literally just going down and we went down to look at the space and get a sense of the space, then that I would say more is on the line of purely factual. But if in that you're having a discussion of what would or wouldn't work in that space, that needs to happen here.
I think we've met that requirement so far.
I agree.
Yeah, but I think going forward with discussing the RFQ and the content. If all three of us are involved in that, along with Aaron, then that would have to be.
Noticed, absolutely.
And how far in advance do you need to publicize a public meeting?
The legal requirement is 48 hours. I typically we try and give as much notice as possible. And so that would be a special meeting of the Salem Public Arts Commission.
But if one person met with Aaron and then came and reported to the subcommittee, would that work or not?
You can either have one person meet with Aaron and come back and report to the subcommittee, and that report would need to be noticed, or they can come back to this as a whole.
So that would have to be a public meeting though, if they came back and reported to the subcommittee.
Correct.
I think it would be the job is happening right now. I think it would be, the easiest thing would be to have a meeting with the SPAC subcommittee, Aaron from Public Works, the architect, resolve the remaining issues. Notice it as a public meeting, record it and keep moving.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we probably want to do that
Like
quickly.
in a
tomorrow.
week, yeah, well,
Yeah, but
after
that's
48 hours.
it's not impossible.
we did next week.
And I want to hammer on one other thing on that, because someone mentioned the copyright thing, which is on here. We can't have an RF request for proposals that the reason your document looks like that is because it's from procurement. Our request for proposals can't run contrary to code. And so the copyright provision in there needs to match our code. We are working through the recommendations of this for code changes. And we are at the step where we are gonna reach out to some of the other cities that have some of the ideas in place that this commission has asked staff to consider, to see what that has done for their individual cities from an administrative level, as far as the lived experience of doing it that way as opposed to the way we're doing it. So that's the next step. Hopefully going to be able to come back to this commission in February meeting, if not February, shortly thereafter. That said, though, the code is currently as it is. And so whatever the requirement in the request for proposals or is going to have to meet the current language within the code, something to keep in mind. So I know aspirationally, we're looking at changing our code going forward, but we have to work with what the current code is. All right.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I flagged it as I was given this long RFQ.
Yo,
review.
absolutely.
It was another instance where that topic showed up, and so I flagged it as that.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Absolutely.
Um,
That said, I love what you all do, and it is clear that you're all very passionate about art, and so
I'm glad to hear you still say that.
yeah, no,
Understand our frustration as creative people too that have to deal with things like this, that it's frustrating.
sure. And I'm sorry that I have to be the bearer of bad news and say things like, hey, by the way, if more than one of you is doing this, it's a public meeting. And so my job is to make sure that the legal I's are dotted and T's are crossed and keep you out of ever.
Mark, I have a quick question about that.
Of course.
What if it's a subcommittee of one?
Then
Because I am on a subcommittee of one.
a subcommittee of one is not a public meeting. It's
Okay.
you're obtaining information to bring back to the group as a whole.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
you can deliberate with yourself as much as you wish to.
We
So,
still
Thank
got
you.
I don't know if it fits, if I may, Susan, tack on to something Mark just said.
Sure.
On copyright, we were studying, I think it was Denver, Minneapolis and San Francisco, but we were craving cities that are more like Salem.
Mhm.
And I don't know, Brian, in your work, or if all of you have discovered any cities that are maybe more on par peers. So if you can, let me know.
I think I have a list, so I'll make it bigger.
Thank you.
Or just send that list at least, because I think some were like, same kind of size, demographic,
Thank you.
things like
Please
that.
do.
It is in there somewhere, but, okay,
And then I went up and searched.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll send it again, please.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep, absolutely. My pleasure.
Thanks.
It's our pleasure. It's a good question.
I'm sorry, I have to excuse myself.
Thank you
I also have to.
for all of that.
I'm a little open today.
And hopefully, I guess the next step though is to organize a meeting, Ross.
So I'd probably have to be setting it up as
Are
a
you setting
subcommittee
it up?
of the staff. Coordinates with Aaron for the
Okay,
meeting
so
time.
as soon as possible. I'm available, I'm pretty flexible. Carl, are you available on coming?
I know it's, yep.
Even if
that's
it's
critical.
virtually.
Yeah, are you thinking maybe early next week?
So
Is-
Monday is a holiday,
Okay,
so
so we need
most of-
48 hours minimum, right?
so then we need 48 hours minimum.
So Tuesday, yeah, sure.
And I'm out on Friday.
Okay, so.
You
As long
can
as
get
they're-
done tomorrow, you could notice it like for Tuesday, if
Correct.
Tuesday could work, for
Yeah.
example.
Okay,
As long as Aaron holds off on sending it out before we all.
thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe we should just quickly go through the subcommittee reports.
You still have a forum?
I don't know.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Or
4,
something, yep,
6.
just barely.
I just want to be, I didn't,
Good
Okay.
catch.
so,
I don't know if there's anything that we're gonna be voting on or anything at this point, so. So should we just, are you okay with that if we just go through the subcommittee reports, or did you wanna make sure we get to
Can I get an official motion an official motion and approval for setting up the subcommittee meeting for sometime next week?
Oh, okay. So you need a motion to do that, okay. So
I'd like to keep things on the record.
Okay. So we moved that first set up a public meeting as soon as possible to discuss the Civic Center project RFQ with the subcommittee.
In a second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Passed. Okay. Done. So it would be either we go to annual report. The label thing is gonna be really quick. But maybe we go to the subcommittee reports, just kind of go down those.
Yep.
real quick. Okay. Public mural review, I guess what we heard, and copyright, we heard about copyright, that hopefully we will be hearing next month about that. Anything further, Brian, about the public mural application review or anything like that you guys were working on?
No, I think we're focusing mostly on copyright. And we talked about the easement too. Is that still a part of the discussion? I think we talked about from 7 to 2 year easement process as well as a separate, so.
Yeah, I can't remember the decision off the top of my head. I would want to have some discussion about dropping it all the way down to 2 year. Our code gives us some flexibility on doing something less than 7 years. I think 2 is a really short floor. Maybe going down to 5, but with the understanding that as our code gives us, or as otherwise approved, I'd say if someone comes in. We've done this. We had a mural that was done on a building where the person's concern was, well, what if we sell the building or something like that? And once you figure out what the property owner's concern is with the length of time, you can work that into the easement itself, giving them the right to terminate and remove the mural if that condition precedent happens. But considering the amount of work that goes in, and looking and reviewing these things, et cetera, a recognition that it is the public's art, and that there's, and these aren't designed to be signs. When you get to a real short period and it promotes the ability for it to be very transitory, then you start worrying about, is this really designed to be a mural where the mural is the centerpiece versus something to attract attention to that business, to be a sign, and they're just using this to get out of the sign code. And so you've got to be careful on how transitory you make that. But that's certainly a discussion we can have as we go forward.
I'll write something out, some thoughts on that, bring it to the next meeting.
Sure.
Okay, great. Any other thoughts on that, on mural review? I think once we hear from Leah too about the kind of mural that she's looking to do, that might bring up some new issues. Condition report. Krista, are you there?
I am, yes, so sorry, I just had to run and grab something.
Okay. Do you have anything to report on that as far as, think you were gonna be in touch with city staff about how they deal with condition reports, maybe parks, was it?
Yeah, so basically the form that we have is kind of just a basic inventory form through SPAC that's been used and used very sparingly. So yes, the idea was to standardize the process a little bit, and if they want to continue to use that form, we can, or if they wanted to use something that's a little bit more official, I'm happy to make one. And I mean, that's what I did at the museum, so I'm very familiar with the process. So yeah, I think it's just dependent on what staff would prefer and what the city would prefer. And once we kind of figure out a format, we can go from there and actually condition report everything.
And how do you see this actually happening with us getting condition reports on the pieces in the collection?
It's a great question. It does not seem like that is something. I mean, I know we discussed last time potentially having someone from the city or someone from Public Works when we were still part of Public Works. Doing that at the same time with the awareness and understanding that it's probably better for someone to do it who has an art background. So that would therefore seem to fall on spec. And since I'm making it and have the experience, would theoretically then also fall to me. So that I think would just be a project of, taking some time and just going out and looking through everything. I mean, I would essentially probably space it by location. So one day be in the library, one day be in convention center, one day do everything that's outside and just go through and photograph everything, document everything, and then could present it if everybody would want that. Otherwise, just submit it, and we would have then records of everything.
Commissioner Lauer, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Are you doing condition reports only on art in our collection that's on display, or every single piece of art that's in our collection? Because we have art that's not on display.
Realistically, it should be done on everything, at least to start, just so that we actually have it all documented. And then I would recommend at that point doing it more consistently on what's on view, at least once a year. If things that are in storage aren't moving, there's not necessarily as much indication of needing to do that. But I do think it is important to at least have a baseline for everything that is in the collection.
Krista, I can work with you on that too. I don't know if we need to form an official subcommittee in order to do that, but I would be able, walk around with you, or we could split up
Yeah.
where we would go. So anyone else interested in helping out with going around and looking at Jesus, that he would also do that. So great, maybe we could split it up.
It just, again, if you're gonna do this as a subcommittee and you're going out, if you're gonna actually documenting, literally just going, finding it, documenting it purely factually is one thing. If you then get into a discussion about its condition and
This would just be factual, in my opinion.
purely factual.
Yeah.
We're here to document it.
Yeah.
Take photographs, make a note of it. One thing, if you're gonna have any discussion about, well, I think this should be poor condition versus fair condition or things like that. Now you're getting into deliberation discussion and things like that, and just be careful.
Yeah.
Or you can't do that is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
outside of a publicly noticed meeting.
Well,
Okay.
the collection is big enough that I think that it might be worth it to split it into 3 groups. And that each of us would take our own group to go and look at and do the report. Do you think that's a good idea, Krista?
Yeah, I mean, the only question is if we have multiple people doing it.
Coordination.
Right. And just in terms of making sure everything's documented the same way.
Perhaps we
You know,
could get
we-
together and would you be able to go through, since you're so familiar with the database, which is what's kind of next on the list, would you be able to maybe split up things that are in certain locations, like all the library would be one, and then all the ones, in the civic center and what, not civic center, the convention center, and then, maybe if we split it up into 3 sections, each of us take one group with agreeing how it would be done with whatever format you come up with.
Can I make a suggestion, Commission? My recommendation would be that you bring that back to and have that discussion here,
Okay.
and then make those assignments here, with it being a 1 person per assignment discussion.
Okay, and perhaps next meeting I can present what the current inventory form is, and then maybe what I would propose that we use for an actual condition report form.
So we don't need at this point to form a subcommittee for that?
I think if we can avoid it, that would be great.
Okay,
That would be preferred.
okay,
Yes.
great. So we'll have that on the February agenda as well. Any other discussion on that? Social media and art, they're 2 really big things. Social media, and our
database.
database.
Yes, two different things.
Two different.
Yeah, so database obviously related to condition reporting. Back when Kathleen was still here, we had gone through the database, the GIS online to kind of see the capabilities. I expressed that I didn't necessarily think that it had the capacity or functionality that we really needed. And then at that last meeting, it was expressed that it might actually have more capabilities in terms of also how parks had used things in the past. And so there was some discussion about potentially meeting with someone from IT from the city to go through it and look at that. But that hasn't really been discussed since Kathleen left. So Chris, I don't know if that's something you could facilitate, is just an introduction to someone from IT and me being able to go through it with you and them. But yeah, there hasn't been any traction as of this moment or any updates on that. But yeah, definitely something that I want to explore because yes, when we do all this work, it'd be great to have a single place for it all to be stored and documented.
Right, and it would help with the inventory.
Yes,
Also.
yeah, I expressed that, there are possibilities of utilizing an actual collections database system. And when I mentioned that in December, or maybe it was November, the city had stated that they did think that there was more capabilities of the current system. So I'm totally open to looking into that. But yes, would love to figure out next steps for that.
And social media, there hasn't been any.
There hasn't. We kind of discussed like waiting for updates and exciting things to share. So that's been kind of put on hold at the moment.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion on that? Art donations from local artists. I would like to move forward with, especially with one artist. The idea was to have artworks from some of the major local artists in town who are getting older. They have large inventories. Some of them are already in the collection, but with smaller pieces. And with the renovation of the council chambers, it seemed like that would be a really wonderful location to have some new big artwork from certain artists that are willing, local Salem artists, important artists that might be willing to donate work. And there's one artist that's already on an agreement, and I'd like to get that moving forward. I think there is a donation form that I saw from the public when the Library Foundation was donated. There was a form that I saw, but I don't know where to get that form in order to approach this artist.
Public arts and things webpage.
It's on there, okay. So I will just, if it's, I'm just gonna move forward with that one and then present it probably in February. Yeah, back to any comments on that?
No.
Back to our regular agenda, moving forward. Annual report to council. Chris and I met on that, and Chris, and we're going to push it forward. Were you able to push it forward on the calendar to we were supposed to report to council for the end of the year report on the 10th, I believe it was. That's a Monday. And we decided just because of this, we have a large transition here and getting on board with exactly what we need. We were going to push it, I think, to the 23rd or 20, whatever, a couple weeks late afterward.
January or February?
Of February. It was going to be the second week of February. February. So is that something that was doable?
So as far as it going to council, they can go to council at any time.
The presentation.
The presentation is, we need to identify, once the presentation is ready and the board has reviewed it and they're ready to say, make a motion to take it to council, then we can do it. Go ahead and set that up. Come back with this is the date. They meet on the 2nd and 4th Mondays every month. So it's just a matter of getting on the agenda packet for that.
So you don't need to schedule it that far in advance. So if we meet, our next meeting is February, what?
February 11th.
So if we're gonna do it the next week, that's enough time.
For the fourth Monday, you're talking about the
To
last.
get on the agenda for council, is that short notice?
I can get it on there, yes, if I know that that's the direction that this is. So what we would do is at the 11th, February 11th, before that, I can get it on the council. But,
Okay,
as a placeholder and finalize whatever the report is gonna look like.
okay, great. And last year I did the PowerPoint for it, and I think, I don't know if we need to get permission to do that again, or I will do that and have it to present for at the February meeting.
I can make that a part of the piece for the council agenda, that there'll be a presentation.
And there's also a written report that usually gets submitted to council by the end of the year. But because we've had this transition, it will go in as soon as we're done with it. So in the written report, I think there was a question, Chris, about whether the report, because the report from last year seemed to have current information rather than information that was from last year. So when I had seen this, I was like, well, Spencer's not on here anymore, and you're the liaison. But I guess you were gonna clarify.
I've gone ahead and updated it with
Okay.
The current staffing on it.
Okay,
And I've updated with the 2026 budget information.
okay,
As I was looking at last year's, I was like, wait a second, how'd they get that number on there? But hopefully this is the write-up piece of it. There might be more to it than that, but currently the 2026 art fund for the fiscal year, for the city's fiscal year, that started off with a beginning fund balance of $91,817. Revenues that have been deposited year to date is $14,191, which is comprised of a portion of the $25,000 that comes from the transient occupancy tax, and a portion of that is also the interest earnings on the fund balance that's been paid out year to date. Repairs and restorations so far this year, since July 1st, 2025, has been about $600, and bank fees have been $428. And the current balance on hand is $104,981. And the budget for this year, budgeted expenditures is up to $140,000. That's anticipating that the remaining $25,000 will be received, and then plus whatever interest there will be. So it's about $20,000 away from getting to that full budget level.
what are the bank fees?
Bank fees are the US, those are the charges for their operations of, transferring funds back and forth, recording interest earnings, paying for bills, that kind of stuff. They don't always charge them, on a monthly basis. Sometimes there's some postings that take place behind the scenes that takes a little while. But in general, that's what those bank fees are for.
Seems steep to me, but
And then with Suzanne's help, Susan's help, we were identifying work that has been completed by the Art Commission and things that you're currently working on. So this is kind of like the draft version that would go into creating the presentation. So I wasn't around for all of this technically, so I had to rely on information that I've received from you all. So if there's any questions.
yeah, I sort of went through basically our projects that we have delineated of what we've been working on through the year and what we hope to work on next year. So I think it's pretty much all there.
Okay.
We may have missed something, but. And then I will create the PowerPoint based on those things.
Okay.
Do we need to approve this at this point? Are you still working on it, or do you need approval, or?
If there's a approval by the, an motion to go forward with the information for the annual report to council, that would be great.
Okay. So moved. Second, we still have a floor, no?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of having Chris kind of put the finishing details on this and submitting it to the city. Everyone who approves, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay?
Great, thank you.
Great. The last thing, are you all okay? I think,
Commissioners' comments.
well, we're still on the updated and missing labels. That's just really quickly. We've been in touch. I haven't started, I had volunteered to do the graphic design on the revised labels for the library because the collection has been donated from the Library Foundation to the city. We need to note that on 44 works of art that are in the collection, and we have the layout, we have everything. It's very easy to just go in and make those changes. And we have been in touch with Eileen Cotter-Hell, who was the original SPAC member at the time, who contributed to these labels. And in great detail, we have learned a lot about the decisions that were made about the labels. She, at this point, is going to get back on us. We as a council approved language to go added to the labels that indicate that the collection was donated. Now it had a very specific format as to where that information about what the collection it might have come from, if someone donated it. She's working on that, on giving us a suggested format before I go ahead and start working on it, and that should happen soon. And I don't think we need any other action from this commission to do that. It's just we're, to let you know, we're moving forward with that. We did find out that initially it was they contracted with a printer to do it, an outside printer to print them and mount them. We did find out that the city print shop, I think, replaced one or two at one point, so they are able to do it. So we will contact the city print shop to produce these labels, and then probably we'll just go ahead and replace them ourselves or have the library help. As far as the outdoor labels, which there are a lot of artworks that are out there that don't have any labeling, and we're looking at metal, stainless, or some kind of metal replacement, and just still in the research phase of that. And commissioner comments on anything? If not, the meeting is adjourned.
Let's see, one of the next month, usually at this time frame, we do the election of the chair and vice chair. So I think that'll be a topic for next month. That's an annual thing, I guess you guys do that somewhere around December, January timeframe. So we'll push that up to February.
Anything else? We're good. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good meeting. How many more?
Yeah, thanks for your.
Thank
For making sure I get to the right place.
Absolutely.
you.